everyone. Come on in because we are here doing Love is Blind, Season 5, the reunion, and Coward Uche was a no-show. No call, no show. Is that what they call it at work when you don't call in and you don't show up? No call, no show, Uche. Does Uche get a check? Do they even pay Uche for this reunion? Or do they get to withhold some of his check because they need to garnish his wages? I can't believe Uche didn't show up. All this talking Uche been doing all season long, after season, all these other interviews, all this yapping back on social media and everywhere else, and then he doesn't even show up for the reunion. He's such a coward. I wish I had some other words for him. I know y'all got some. Drop them down in the comments. What do we need to call Uche besides the one I've done come up with right now, which is he's a big old coward? One thing I do like about the reunions for Love is Blind is their reunions come a lot longer after the show is ended. That's why you know maybe some of this stuff is real or not real, because it's enough time that if it was some foolery and fakery and people were just together for the cameras, they can't fake it for a year and a half. They can't fake it for a year and a half unless, just as I predicted, Milton and Lydia are still going strong. Still growing strong a year and a half. They still look like they're in love. They went over there to Puerto Rico. How do you say it with the accent? Puerto Rico. They went over there and had another wedding. That don't look like no fake and foolery. I know some of you guys are trying to say it was fake. I don't think it is fake. I think it is real. They went and had another wedding over there. And even Lydia, who I tell you, Lydia is the queen of manipulation. Lydia done had everybody on this show, y'all, fall in love with her. Remember, she had Uche fall in love with her. I'm telling you, Uche was stalking Lydia just as much as Lydia was stalking Uche. I don't care what y'all say. I do not care what y'all say when you think it was all Lydia. Nope, it was Uche as well. But anyway, Lydia done got Uche to fall in love with her. She got Milton to fall in love with her. She got Aaliyah to fall in love with her. And now she got Milton's mom to fall in love with her. You know why she got Milton's mom to fall in love with her? Because she's trying to manipulate and control Milton through the mama. Lydia don't stop. Lydia ain't going to stop trying to control you. She's not going to stop. She's going to try every means possible. And now that she has realized that Milton don't listen to a word she says, Milton is stubborn. He is hard-headed, and he don't listen to a word Lydia says all the time. And she said, I need to go over here and get friends with your mama, and maybe your mama can convince you. Girl, no. The mama couldn't even convince him not to marry you, Lydia. She ain't going to convince him of nothing. Milton does his own thing. He's still stubborn. He still ain't washing no dishes and picking up no clothes. Woo! I know Lydia is fit to be tied. She is fit to be tied, but she ain't doing nothing. She right over there, like she said, picking up after him. Everybody thinks manipulative Lydia is going to be able to get the best of Milton, but you know what? I hope Lydia don't think that, because Milton is stubborn and hard-headed, and he does and says what the heck he wants to do. I hope people see that about Milton. I hope they see it, that Milton fights a whole different kind of way. He don't fight like the loud screaming people like the Uches and other people of the world. That's not how Milton fights. Milton just digs in with his STEM major and his intellectual analysis. He don't move. He does not move. Lydia got a job on her hands. It's going to be the biggest task yet since she's into the world of manipulation to get her way with people. She's not going to have that much success with Milton, but I still think they're very, very good for each other, because Milton is actually what Lydia needs, because like I said, I do know that Lydia is manipulative. Now, let me tell you, we had this whole thing going on with Lydia and Aaliyah, and I want to know now, what do you guys believe the truth is? You know, we didn't have Uche here to tell his side, but I'm going to tell you, I think I talked about it in my early videos, I'm going to tell you what I really, really think happened. I think coming on this show, I believe Lydia when she said that she and Uche had a conversation prior to the show and saying, hey, did you see the casting call? Okay, I believe that. I believe they did that. I believe that. Now, do I think that they both told each other, yes, I'm going to apply and go on the show? I don't think they did that. But I think the conversation was enough that they both kind of got the sense that they both were going to apply. That's what I believe. That's why I believe Lydia did say those things to Aaliyah, that I might see someone on here I know, because she ain't no psychic. She ain't no tarot card reader. She ain't no soothsayer. So I pretty much know that whatever conversation she had with Uche, she knew enough that he might be on the show. That I believe. I also believe that when she did get on the show, just like she said in that confessional, maybe this is fate. Maybe this is a time for us to try again. I believe that. I believe that at that time, Lydia was still hooked on Uche, and I believe she came on the show to possibly get Uche back. That's what I believe. Now, what I also believe is things turned once they got on the show. Because what I know about Lydia is Lydia attaches fast to people. And once Lydia got on this show and she saw all these men in front of her and she saw all these possibilities, I don't think that Uche was her person she was trying to get back with. I think she said, wow, I might have come on this show for the wrong reasons. But now that I'm here and I see all these men, dang, these men like me. These men like me. And I think Lydia's attention got turned to the other men. That's what I believe. Because I think Lydia attaches fast. So what happened was she became attached to Izzy. That was real. Lydia was not interested in Uche after she got on this show. She was not. I don't believe it. Did she come on here for that? Yes. Did she come on here for that? I believe so. But she did like Izzy. She did like Milton, right? I do believe that her attention started turning, and I believe that Uche realized that. Because at one point in time, I believe, just like Uche tried to say that Lydia was his stalker and all this other kind of stuff before he came on, I think the tables got turned, and I think Uche became Lydia's stalker. I do. Because all those text messages he's sending well after the show, that's stalkerish behavior. Stalkerish behavior. And I believe that was why their relationship was so toxic, Uche's and Lydia, because in a lot of ways, they were a lot alike. They were a lot alike. So now you have Uche on here, and Uche decides he's going to stalk Lydia's relationships with Milton. And let me tell you, I don't think Uche really ever even liked Aaliyah. I'm going to say it even more. I told y'all when he saw her, he wasn't physically attracted to her. I also don't think that he much cared for her in the pods. I think Uche was also getting close to Aaliyah because he also knew that Lydia and Aaliyah have become friends on the show. That's what I believe. I think Uche is just as diabolical as some of you think Lydia is. That's what I believe. I believe that Uche became obsessed and jealous of Lydia and the fact that she had moved on with Milton. He became, just like Milton said, he would call me, unnecessarily pry in my relationships. The only person who really got cheated on this show was Aaliyah. She's the real victim. She's the real victim of not only Uche, she's the victim of Lydia, and she's the victim of these producers. But here's what I'm going to say about Aaliyah. I do believe she was a victim. But once she became aware that she was a victim, the problem that I had with Aaliyah, and I know there's a lot of Aaliyah fans out here, is Aaliyah didn't do the right thing. She didn't. It seems as if all Aaliyah's anger is directed towards Lydia. And I have a problem with that. Because Aaliyah needs to be angry with the producers just as much. And she also needs to be mad with Uche just as much. But she's still chummy with the producers. And she's also, then, even after Uche did what he did to her, she forgave Uche and then dated Uche after the show. Why, Aaliyah? Why would you date a guy who's done this to you? The other part with Aaliyah, where I say I think Aaliyah needs better boundaries, is that even when Lydia was doing that stuff, and Aaliyah kept saying, I don't want to hear anything about Uche, and Lydia couldn't stop. Lydia kept telling her, oh, I know this about Uche, where he lives, the car he drives, what he likes to eat. All that stuff Lydia was doing was horrific and horrible. She wasn't respecting Aaliyah's boundaries at all. We all talked about that. It was horrific. But what I didn't like about Aaliyah is Aaliyah didn't get up. She didn't leave. She didn't do what Milton did to Uche because Uche wasn't respecting Milton's boundaries. He wasn't. But Milton handled Uche. Milton walked away. Milton put him in his place. Milton handled it all differently. Aaliyah, on the other hand, when someone disrespected her boundaries, she didn't walk away. And in fact, she sat over there after Lydia had disrespected her boundaries, after Uche had disrespected her. She went back to Uche and told him not only did he want to be with Uche, she wanted Lydia to be a godmama for their babies, and they would be best friends. And she was in love with Lydia and wanted Lydia in her life. Good Lord, Aaliyah. Good Lord. So I do believe Aaliyah is a victim, but going forward, Aaliyah, girl, you need to develop some boundaries, some real better boundaries, because the way that these producers, Uche and Lydia, played and messed over you, it's on them. It absolutely is on them. But some of it is on you too. Because even after you failed, even after they got the best of you, you didn't walk away. That's the problem I had. The problem was even after Lydia knew. Even after Aaliyah knew, she didn't walk away. In fact, she doubled down. She tried to get back with Uche. She tried to still be friends with Lydia. Lydia didn't want to be friends with Aaliyah. Once Lydia really moved on and was really in love with Milton, Lydia didn't want to have nothing to do with Uche nor Leah. Neither one of them. And as you can see, they're not even friends now. What happened to all that love? They're not even friends now. And I'm not going to go with this narrative that Uche tries to pretend that Lydia broke him and Aaliyah up. Nope. Because Aaliyah still wanted to go out with Uche even after she found out. So Lydia didn't break up Uche and Aaliyah. That's the narrative that wants to be spun. The narrative that wants to be spun is that Lydia broke up Aaliyah and Uche. And I'm here to tell you that Uche never wanted Aaliyah. Never. Never. Because just like Milton said, he could care less what went on between Uche and Lydia. He could care less how things started. All he's cared about is where they are now. Uche could have done the same thing. Who cares what Lydia did? Who cares if Lydia did come on here for nefarious reasons? If he were really in love with Aaliyah and he really liked her, he would have forgiven all of that. I don't believe Uche ever really liked Aaliyah. That's why he treated her so poorly in the pods. That's why he condemned her so fast in the pods. And what he knew that outside the pods, Lydia and Aaliyah were good friends. Uche was using Aaliyah from the very beginning. We said that Lydia was preying on Aaliyah. Let me tell you something. That's why I say Aaliyah is the real victim. Because not only was Uche using Aaliyah to get back at Lydia, Lydia was then, of course, spying or whatever on Uche in the beginning as well. That's what I believe. I believe this is so manipulative, these webs, that is really diabolical. It really was a horrible season in terms of this. You looked up on that stage and there was no one on that stage, no couples on that stage. You got Milton and Lydia, and then you got Izzy and Stacy over here. And let me tell you, if we didn't have the storyline of Milton, Lydia, and Uche and Aaliyah, what would season 5 even be about? What would it be about? These producers kept these people on the show after they found out all of this because they knew they didn't have no interested couples on this show and they didn't want to show nobody else. And this became the whole storyline of the whole season. Because as we can see, besides Izzy and Stacy, it wasn't much more of anything to be shown this season. So had they really let Lydia and Uche go, we might not even had a season 5. But Lydia knows how to work a crowd. She got her man coming home from work earlier. He said, I can't work no double shifts. I can't wait no overtime. I got to come home to my wife. And let me tell you, I know a lot of people might be mad the way he stood up for his wife. Well, people, that's what marriage looks like. That's what marriage looks like. When you are in public, Milton wouldn't be no husband if he let them people sit up there and put his wife down. He wouldn't be no real husband. Now, behind closed doors, we know that Milton is having good conversation with Lydia because he's always had it. He ain't never afraid to check Lydia. So I'm not really upset with Milton, the way he covered for Lydia. I'm not upset the way he vouched for her. I'm not upset by the way he stood beside her, because that's what marriage looks like. Period. Point blank. That's what marriage should look like. And then behind closed doors, your husband can check you over there. But in public, he had her back. And that's what a husband should do. Sorry, that's what I believe. That's what I believe. It's okay not always to agree with everything your spouse does. But let me tell you, what you're not supposed to do is let a bunch of other people sit up there and fire on your wife. Absolutely not. And Milton played his role as a husband and a protector. And when he said he was a long-term planner with his 401k, I guess he's a provider too. All these women out here talking about they want a provider, a leader, and protector. Well, guess what Milton just said? Check, check, and check. Honestly, Aaliyah and Uche, had it really been love, like I believe Lydia and Milton's is real love, they could have been Lydia and Milton too, if it was really based on love, but it was never based on love. Uche never loved Aaliyah. Not only did he never love her, he wasn't even physically attracted to her once he saw her. And therefore, they couldn't get past the situation. But if they were really in love, they would have. But there was no love. And let me tell you, the idea of weirdo, creepo, coward Uche texting Milton on his wedding day, talking about I need to still see you, texting Lydia still, he's just trash. Let me add another word to it. Trash. Uche is trash. Not only is he a coward, I knew he was a coward when Miriam got him all together and he ran from Miriam. That told me right then and there, he can't really handle no one who really knows how to read him. And because he couldn't handle Milton either. Only person Uche can handle are people who are really, really, really emotional, who don't know how to get their words together. But people who know how to get their words together, like Miriam, who knows how to really read, Milton knows how to read very well as well. Uche can't hang with none of them. And he was a coward and he didn't come to the show. And he was trash to be texting Milton on his wedding day, talking about, I got something to tell you. I still need to talk to you. What the hell is he talking about? Uche was obsessed. Uche was obsessed with Lydia just as much as people want to say Lydia was obsessed with him in the beginning. The tables got turned on Uche. The tables got turned real quick on him in this whole experiment, whatever we want to call it. They got turned on him, and the casualty, the fallout, was Aaliyah. Sorry, Aaliyah. Sorry, Aaliyah. Uche never wanted you. He never wanted you in the pods, and he never wanted you afterwards. You were just a pawn to get back at Lydia. That's all he did. He used Aaliyah the entire time. And Aaliyah needs to learn how to draw better boundaries. I'm glad she went on this R&B cruise by herself and met a man. That was odd to me too. Why are you going on an R&B cruise by yourself? You ain't got no girlfriends to go lift you up, carry you. Aaliyah needs a better circle. She needs a circle who's going to support her, because I was concerned when Aaliyah latched on to Lydia so fast. And all of a sudden, Lydia was her best friend. She in love with Lydia. Lydia's going to be the godmother of her child. Wait a minute, Aaliyah. You ain't got no other good girlfriends that will be in line to be the godmother of your children. You picking a woman that you just met in the pods to be the godmother of these kids you supposed to have with Uche who don't even like you. That then told me something about Aaliyah. That told me something about Aaliyah right then. And now I hear she going on cruises by herself. She ain't got one girlfriend, one sister, one mother, one brother, one anything to go on the cruise with. And she's over here latching on to Lydia so fast in the pods. Now Lydia's going to be the godmother. I think Aaliyah might need to go a little bit deep in her own relationships, maybe with a therapist, and figure out she's lacking some connections, y'all. I don't want to go too far deep in it, but it's something about Aaliyah, the way she didn't draw those boundaries, the way she was so thirsty for friends, thirsty to be friends with Lydia, even though Lydia was doing her wrong, thirsty to be hanging on to Uche, even though Uche was doing wrong. Now she going on this R&B cruise all by herself, and as soon as she goes on and she meets a man on there who's on there by himself, and she latches on to him. I don't know. It all just sounds sort of suspect to me. It just sounds suspect. And then we got to see a JP and Taylor Taylor looked good. Taylor looked really good. Makeup or no makeup. She had her spray tan on. She was about 5 shades darker. I thought Taylor was a black woman. I thought Taylor was Creole from Louisiana. She had on so much spray tan. She and Stacey both. So much spray tan. And before I gloss over Izzy and Stacey, did y'all see what I predicted? That Izzy would run right back to the doorstep of Johnny. Talking about they met at a bar. Okay, Johnny and Izzy. Izzy couldn't wait to call up Johnny and say, hey, we broke up. Till he was over there kissing on Johnny, lip locking on the steps because he needed his ego soothed. I told you, Izzy ain't nothing but a lost puppy dog looking for love. And he did exactly what I predicted. He ran over there to Johnny, knocking on her doorstep, say, can you come outside and hold me because I got dumped by Stacey. And this little weird friendship they got where they double dating and all this stuff. This is weird. Just weird, weird, and weird. Of course, Chris and Johnny didn't make it. That's no surprise. Who's surprised about that Chris and Johnny didn't make it? We knew that wasn't going nowhere. But we didn't know what a savage Chris was. We didn't know what a savage Chris was. But I'm going to tell you this. I didn't think Chris was all that innocent. Because I'm going to go back, and I don't really want to disparage anyone, or I don't want to make light of the story Chris told earlier on. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, I had a problem with that earlier story Chris told when they were talking about how he lost his virginity. And he basically said, and without using the real word, the R word, he basically said that's what happened to him with a girl. And that's how he lost his virginity. That they were in, I don't know, they were in high school, college, and he didn't really want to do it. But she overpowered him. I'm going to tell you back then, I didn't believe the story all the way because I found that, not that I don't believe that women can be aggressors. I do believe that. But I thought it was a little bit weird that I don't know. I don't want to sound too ignorant here. I don't know. There was something about it that just kind of, I don't know. And then I felt like there was a part of Chris that always wanted to play the victim. There was something about that. And, I didn't learn much about him, so I really never took any further. But now I hear the way he did Johnny. I'm not no Johnny fan, but the way that he and Johnny hooked up for extra camera time, because that's what it was. And the minute the extra camera time was over, he went over there and started hooking up with another woman and didn't even have the decency to tell Johnny. And what he says is, I have a problem of saying no to women. Well, maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's what happened with the other girl. Maybe she would be surprised to know that, wow, I didn't know that's the way you felt about that encounter, Johnny. That happens all the time. One person calls it one thing and another person calls it another thing. Because now Chris is over here talking about he has a problem hurting people's feelings and telling them no when he doesn't really want to do it. These things are starting to sound familiar with Chris. Because let me tell you, anyone who does what Chris did, there's not a whole lot of innocence attached to that. You know what's right and what's wrong at Chris's age. You know what it is, though, is it's somebody trying to have bad behavior, but then still paint themselves as sort of the victim. In a lot of ways, I feel like he was still trying to paint himself as the victim of Johnny, but yet he's the one over here doing all the bad behavior just as much. I don't know. I have a whole different opinion of Chris. Before I had things in the back of my head and I didn't really want to verbalize it. But guess what? Now that I've seen all this new stuff about him, even when he was dating Johnny, I thought that was just weird. Why would you date her after what happened? We're always telling women don't be second choice. And then all of a sudden, Chris decides he's going to be second choice of Johnny. Now he's over here fooling around with Johnny, then going over here having a whole relationship with another woman in 1 week, not ever even telling Johnny, not saying goodbye. That woman better watch out. That woman he's with, she better watch out. Because I've always tell people, the way other people treat other people, they'll eventually treat you that way too. They will. And then Izzy and Johnny talking about they made out in his Jeep. Of course in his Jeep, because he ain't got no apartment. Where else you gonna make out except in his Jeep? He probably living in that damn Jeep. But JP and Taylor, like I was saying before, you know what? I agree with Taylor. JP wasn't that attracted to Taylor, and it wasn't because of her looks. I'll tell you right now, it wasn't because of her looks. I'm going to stick to my original thought about JP, that he's a Republican and Taylor is a Democrat. I'm going to say that because I don't think he was attracted to Taylor all that much. And I think it wasn't because of the makeup, because like he said, he's dated women that look like Taylor. Sure, he may not have wanted her to wear that much makeup, but that wasn't all of it. He didn't like some other things about Taylor. And I'm going to tell you, I believe it's her political affiliation, or maybe it's her non-affiliation, or she doesn't agree with the same beliefs that he has. JP, where were you on January 6th? Where were you? I want to know. I do want to know, because I think in the end, he might not have even told Taylor the real reason. She may not even know. She may not even know. And Taylor, like I told y'all before, because Taylor is so fixated on sort of the looks part, she automatically thinks that's what it was about, because that's what Taylor fixates on. I told y'all that before. Y'all get mad at me. Taylor's fixated on that. But I think that the part that JP wasn't that attracted to Taylor had nothing to do with her looks completely. I don't believe that. I believe it has to do with the political affiliation, and I'm going to stick to it. Even the part that JP said about, hey, I was nervous in front of the cameras. Well, you coming on Love is Blind. Love is Blind. Do I think JP is quiet? Yeah, I do. I do. Because he said even out in the public, he has his friends go up to women he's scared to talk to. So I do believe that's part of JP. I thought that was real. And do I think that Taylor had any patience for that? No. She didn't have no patience for it. She didn't have much patience to work through it. And like she said, she did have a good comeback. Well, if you didn't talk in front of the cameras, what happened after the cameras left? Why didn't you talk then? Because like I said, very good question, Taylor. It is a good question, because he really didn't like you. He didn't like you. And it wasn't all because of your looks. I'm telling you, he didn't like her, and he didn't really like her conversation. He didn't. I said that earlier. People got mad at me then. He didn't like her conversation, and he didn't really like her. I don't think he did. And in turn, because he was quiet naturally, you add that on. Taylor didn't want to have no patience for him either. Do I think Taylor was impatient with him? I still do. I still do. Supposedly this was a man you loved or whatever, and you couldn't even get through the honeymoon. She left him quick, fast, in a hurry. That's why I know Taylor not only didn't like him, she didn't want to be with him either. But she'll never admit that, because right now she's got the high ground, and she's going to keep the high ground. But I don't think that Taylor really liked JP either, even if he were quiet. Because I think that if you really love someone and you were attracted to them physically, I think you would have given them more than 2 days. Does it mean it would have lasted? Does it mean it would have worked? No, I'm not saying that. It probably would have fallen apart anyway. But I still think you give them more than the 2 days that Taylor gave him. Taylor gave up on that man real quick. More than one thing can be right, y'all. More than one thing can be right at one time. There could be things that JP did by not talking that turned off Taylor, but it also can be that Taylor was not attracted to JP, or she might not agreed with his political affiliation either, because she gave up on him quickly. But it wouldn't have gone nowhere. It probably would have fallen apart after the show or whatever. So what difference does it make? It really doesn't even make any difference. I'm glad JP gone over here and got him another woman that he's been with for a year. Good for him. I guess they can go off and get married. If she's been around for a whole year, maybe she's marriage material for him. And I guess Taylor is out here trying to pretend that she is a girl from New Orleans. I guess she'll find her guy. Good luck to him. Maybe that's why JP didn't like Taylor. All that spray tan. He said, I want a white woman. I didn't want no black woman. JP was like, I wanted a white woman, not no black woman. All this spray tan. You look like a Creole from New Orleans. Anyway, that's it, y'all. What y'all think about the reunion? And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.